Max winning the Belgium Grand Prix from 14th on the grid was the lowest starting position any Red Bull driver had ever won from before, and yet it was the least shocking comeback win I think I've ever seen. Even during Friday practice when we found out that Max would be one of many drivers starting lower down due to an engine penalty, I literally tweeted saying that I don't care how many grid penalties you want to give to Max, in that car with him at the wheel, he would be a threat for the win from literally anywhere. Alas, 48 hours later, Max produced arguably his greatest ever performance in terms of the sheer dominance, winning by over 17 seconds, having started down in 14th. And yet, absolutely no one was shocked or surprised that it even happened. In terms of how Max won the race, there's actually not too much to analyze. By the end of the first lap, he climbed from 14th to 8th, then benefited a little bit with the safety car closing the field up, but his pace was so strong that it didn't matter how many safety cars you threw out or what strategy Ferrari tried. He got into first place on lap 12 during the first round of pit stops, and then overtook Carlos Sainz for the lead of the race by lap 18. And never looked back after that. We talk about the phrase "on a different planet" quite a lot, and no race better demonstrates that than Spa. In terms of why Max was so fast, it was a combination of him performing at his absolute peak, the car in his hands suiting the track better than anywhere else before, and also the rest of the grid struggling to extract anywhere near the same level of performance. Ferrari really struggled with their tyres. On race day, the temperature ramped up, which meant that the tyre wear was higher than predicted, and Carlos in the cooldown room even said that when he put the softs on, they were only good for about 3 laps until he had to go into full tyre management mode. As for Mercedes, this track exposed all of their weaknesses. The high-speed nature of Spa and the difficulty that the W13 has with tyre warm-up meant that to get the tyres into any kind of operating window, they had to put a lot of downforce and drag onto the car, which totally killed their straight-line speed. The RB18, on the other hand, specifically in the hands of Max, was just sublime. The RB18 has a lot of efficient downforce, meaning that even when you put a low drag setup to help with its top speed, there is still enough downforce to be more than competitive in the slow speed corners like La Source and the bus stop, and the middle sector, which has more aero-dependent high speed corners. In the end, even Perez managed a pretty comfortable P2, 9 seconds ahead of Sainz, and that's despite having a shocking start and benefiting massively from the Hamilton and Alonso collision. However, nothing you can say about the car can take away from the sheer dominance of Max Verstappen this weekend. It was a special performance by a very special driver who you can tell is driving with confidence, and just a freedom from the fact that there literally is no championship fight left to fight. I think that's the only thing that slightly makes this win not quite as dramatic as it could have been. There isn't really that jeopardy and pressure of a title fight anymore, and if Ferrari can't even win with Leclerc starting from pole, then how are they supposed to win with Leclerc starting from 15th? I think, however, that lack of uncertainty is the reason why this performance is truly one of a kind. When you look at legendary comeback drives in the past, Hamilton in Hockenheim 2018, Schumacher in Spa 1995, or even Button in Canada 2011, at no point was there ever a certainty that those improbable wins would happen. But that's why Verstappen at Spa in 2022 is a completely different type of comeback win. It lacked the drama and tension because of the lack of uncertainty, but it was underpinned by a driver on such a different level compared to everyone else that the lack of uncertainty is the best way to describe how dominant Max was. In my opinion, barring being crashed out on the opening laps, it was a foregone conclusion from the end of practice that Max would not waste the car performance. The fact that he then qualified on pole by over 6/10 and only needing 1 lap to do so was almost like the warning of what was to come. As good as that performance was, however, it's not something that should be expected going forward. It was just a perfect storm for Red Bull that Max managed to take full advantage of. When it comes to the next few races, Ferrari will be back in the fight, and going off the strengths and weaknesses of the RB18 and the F175 that we've seen, Zandvoort should tip the scale back towards Ferrari. And although the title fight is over, that doesn't mean that 2, 3 or 4 race wins for Ferrari can't do them a world of good in terms of boosting the team and giving them some momentum going into the winter break ahead of 2023. I've said before in a previous video that 2022 now for Ferrari is a learning year, and that goes for both the team and also the drivers. What changes do the team need to make to become internally a slicker operation? What does Carlos Sainz need to do to make sure that he doesn't have a slow start to the season again? And how can Leclerc become even better, not in terms of outright speed, but cutting out some of those big and small mistakes that we've seen? As far as Max, the attention now switches to how quickly he can win the title, and also if he can break a few records in the process. With 9 wins already under his belt and 8 races still to go, it means that Max is more than capable of beating the record for the most wins in a single season, which stands at 13, held by both Schumacher from 2004 and Vettel from 2013. Now, yes, there were less races back then, with 18 races in 04 and 19 in 13, compared to 22 in 22. That's a bit of a tongue twister, but hopefully you get the picture. Regardless of how much weight you put on statistics, given that there are more races now, it's still exciting to know that something like this can be broken, and it still adds an element of intrigue. As far as when Max can wrap up the title, he is currently 93 points ahead of Checo in second and 98 ahead of Leclerc in third. That's almost 4 wins clear with just 8 races remaining. Mathematically, Max being crowned the back-to-back Formula 1 champion could happen as early as Singapore in just over a month. But in my opinion, I think the next race after that in Suzuka will be where he will wrap it up and also put Ferrari out of their misery. I think it would actually be a pretty significant race to do it at. Suzuka will be returning to the F1 calendar for the first time since 2019. Sebastian Vettel for Red Bull also won his second title there in 2011. Max also officially made his F1 debut there during practice in 2014. And then of course there's the Honda connection, which even in 2022 is still very strong. I know it seems weird to be crowning a driver world champion before he's actually won it, but after that performance in Spa and the season that he and Red Bull have put together in 2022, which I honestly think might be one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen from a driver-team combination, there will never be a debate that in 2022, the best driver and the best team won the title. Spa was just another page in the already legendary career of Max Verstappen, and now the rest of the season seems almost like a victory lap on the way to his second world title.